if you didn't listen to the end, you didn't get the scoop. We pay to go to the movies, and you walk away with nothing when you leave the movies. The cards you at least still have.
I really like that point. I talk about it a lot as to why the hobby is the best hobby. That is like a cheat code of a hobby. Like if I'm going to spend my free time and make money, or at least at the very least not lose it, it's why it's one of the coolest hobbies to me.
Welcome to the Trading Cards and Collectibles podcast on the Radcast Network. From chasing grails to calling bluffs and going inside the hobby. Are you ready to collect? Let's get at it. Here is your host, Ryan Alford.
Hello, and welcome to Trading Cards and Collectibles here on the Radcast Network. I hope everyone is doing all right wherever you are, whenever you are. We know you got options, so we're glad you made us one. Appreciate you keeping us at or near some of those sports charts we've been in. Don't know how or why, but we love you. I think, the reason I think it is because we have people like the guests that we have today. We got the real, I don't know, guys making a difference in the hobby, doing something different and providing quality content, conversations, and meaningful value to the hobby. And his name is Gordy Bonker. What's up, Gordy? I feel like I'm a hair down business guy. I mean, I've been and done a lot in the business world, but at the same time, I feel like I'm still a kid and still, learning every day. But there's a sophistication with your stuff, and I don't know, and maybe it comes with someone that appreciates vintage and that's doing the things that you are. But there's definitely a way and a manner about you that is both educational and meaningful.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, before I was doing Bonkers cards content full time, I've always had a passion for the financial services industry. I was working basically on Wall Street as an agency recruiter, specifically for financial services firms, primarily private equity, hedge funds, and investment banks. Coming across the sports card market after a bit of time writing financial content, that I discovered the untapped potential of what this space could be as an asset class. And I just started to build upon that. And then before I knew it, the following I had about speaking about sports cards as an investment class outpaced the content I was doing in traditional financial services. So it was a crazy transition. And I'm super grateful for that time as well, because it helped me, get a lot sharper on the content side, jumping in here, running full head of steam.
I hear two sides of this. And my firm belief, I think, is yours, the untapped side of this. And then I have the naysayers that just can't get over cardboard, being worth, that, and it not tanking one day or, being a bubble. I mean, how do you weigh that, and what's sort of your response, or what's giving you the confidence that you have that this truly is a long-term play? Collecting
is centuries old. It is a human innate behavior. And then when you additionally layer on the fact that sports cards have been a marketable business for over 100 years as well, you layer that in. And then when you start to see the actual market of sports cards form somewhere around the 1950s and 60s, where people see resale value of this stuff, you actually start to see like a historical performance of these cards. And one thing that is super notable in the super high-end category is that it continues to compound and appreciate in value. Like, we have the data to support it. Artwork is, at the end of the day, still just material that's put on canvas or paper. It's really the creator of that artwork or the scarcity of that artwork that drives its value. The highest end artwork pieces are selling for over $100 million. The latest Honus Wagner cards, you see those prices anywhere from, 3, 5, 10 million, and you might think it's a lot. But when you compare it to other culturally relevant collectibles, it's not even close. When you look at the high-end vintage baseball market specifically, the population counts, so the total number of cards in existence in PSA 8, 9, and 10 is extremely scarce the higher you go. 10s are basically off the table at this point. So you're looking at PSA 9 or SGC 9 copies of those super high-end culturally relevant cards, or PSA 8s in some examples, and you're starting to see that volume or the value of those cards go through the roof. An example I spoke about just this week, I sold 2 Roberto Clemente PSA 8 rookies probably around July, August timeframe, right around August, September actually, because it was right after the National, right around $90,000 privately each. There's a PSA 8 Roberto Clemente ending this week at Heritage that, if it were to hit the gavel as we're talking, would close at 163,000.
Almost double.
And that's in the last 3 months. And I think you do actually see a notable change in some of this higher end stuff that happened right towards the end of the National, in between that and when Kevin O'Leary publicly made his purchase and talked about wanting to create an index of the greatest sports cards. And I can feel 100% confident in saying that I know that that's going to be replicated by other high net worth individuals, either that want to have complete 100% ownership of the cards, or they want to create a fund structure that's going to pool capital together to acquire what's left of the supply of the best cards. And, if that becomes more of a public thing, I think you're going to see the valuations of the stuff move even higher.
A few companies I have creating, almost like stocks that, you combine all these things and you split up into shares. Well, companies have tried that and not been so successful, I think, with the, aggregating, but more, let's call it the retail investors, so to speak. Why has that not made it?
The ones that are actually pulling this off are taking the majority ownership of it, the fractional ownership model. And this has been kind of a shaky model across other assets as well. There's a company called Fundrise that invests into real estate in a fragmented way. There's also a perfect one-for-one comparison of this company called Masterworks, where you can invest in fractionalized pieces of art. And it's the same thesis as to why you would want to invest into art as sports cards. And that hasn't really taken off. And I think it's going to be important that whatever investment vehicle, that whoever actually does nail this, because I think there's probably a lot of listeners that just heard you and I speak of the first 20 minutes of this interview, and they're like, yeah, this makes complete sense to me. Like, I would want to allocate some capital to this. But for some reason, there's a friction in terms of maybe it's the liquidity, maybe it's the marketing or the product that hasn't landed yet. And I think that's still sitting out there for somebody to really execute. And I'm rooting for Rally. I'm rooting for the people that are trying to do it. I've done some content at the Rally Museum before. I've met the people that have worked there. I think they were really early in seeing this. It's just like somebody needs to execute on it. Otherwise, it will just continue to be like something that is for the high level, high net worth, elite, wealthy class. And that class of people hasn't yet viewed sports cards in like a sophisticated manner. They've looked at artwork that way, in antiques and specific artifacts, but they haven't looked at sports cards that way. And I think that's surprising when you recognize how culturally relevant it is in this moment. Like you're talking about how much your kids like to do it. It is something that has been happening for the last 30, 40 years. And I think you just have to look at it at a longer tail, there wasn't, we don't have as much history on this as a market as we do the art market. And I think like with time, that will mature,
I think it's, and well put, and I'm glad you feel like I do. I'm like, I would have thought this would have blown up by now, but it looks like some fairly well-funded, thought-out platforms like Rally and others. There's another one I can't remember the name of. It feels like they've made goes at it. I'm like, it's the same as you. It's like, this marketing. I'm like, I can do marketing, but is this marketing issue? But I don't know. I think it's there. It's kind of what I saw. There's a surprising lack of sophistication, in the hobby a little bit, and it's not. I think as more sophisticated people that understand long-term investing come into the space. Not all like billionaires, but I think you might see that take off more. And there's this proliferation of the scratch card gambling side of it, right?
Yes. And I want to address the gambling piece as well, but you brought, I don't want this thought to escape me while we're talking.
Please.
The other piece to what has been difficult for Rally, Collectible, some of the other fractional ownership groups is the regulatory component of this makes things very challenging, and it makes people kind of walk away from it when you're looking at it like a pooled capital thing. So that's the first thing I wanted to make sure, that there's a huge regulatory hurdle that people need to jump. And the second piece, when you're talking about like the lack of, or there's not a ton yet of sophisticated individuals that are looking at the space, part of that is because like this in itself is a hobby that was not meant to be at its core an investable asset class and all the things that we're talking about.
You need both sides of that coin.
You do. You absolutely do. And, where you were going with it in terms of the trends today and how a lot of the popularity of it is sitting on these stilts of the gambling industry and the growth of that.
I don't have a problem with either side of it. It's entertainment for me. I mean, like the first, been back, right at 2 years back in it. And the first year, it was just entertainment with my kids. So it was worth every penny, every box, every, piece of trash my wife complained about to just have that time and entertainment with them. And it was, it wasn't, I guess it's gambling, but the surprise and delight of getting cards because we were into sports big, but we just weren't into cards. So we knew all the players. So to start ripping packs and maybe getting stuff of value, plus knowing the players and get to see the artwork, because I hadn't been back into it. I hadn't seen the new parallels in 20 years. It was just a lot of entertainment, surprise and delight.
I think that's really where people need to draw the line on, in that this is not something, especially when we're talking about the modern product that's coming out today. The odds of that are stacked against you from a purchasing product perspective. Do not think that buying this box of cards is going to make you money and that this is like a trading sort of thing where you're buying X and selling for Y and there's a delta between. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think people are getting upset because the way that breaking is getting advertised, it's that, I'm going to buy into this break for $20 and pull this $20,000 card, and this is so wonderful. No. And it's really, messing with people's finances. And at the same time, you have this macro trend that's super, super relevant. And Fanatics has just launched into the prediction markets, but you have apps like Kalshi, and basically the United States being all in on gambling. We are all in on predicting everything, and it's up to the consumer to be able to have the discipline to not gamble.
I don't know. It's like the gambling genie isn't going back in the bottle. And so you can feel about it however you want, but it's up to you to have discernment and discipline. You can't spend your whole paycheck on ripping boxes, or you're not going to have any money. And so, sorry. And I look, I'm not, I've bought a few too many. I never bought what I couldn't afford with my kids, but definitely bought more than I was like,
more than
man, we spent a lot of money on cards.
It's fun,
It is fun. But I never at one time did it and went, it wasn't fun. It was a blast, and it's entertainment, and we pay to go to the movies. So, and you walk away with nothing when you leave the movies. The cards you at least still have.
I'm a huge golfer, avid golfer. It is the one thing I do to get away from thinking about this stuff. And it is an expensive hobby. And all of the money you put into golf is absolutely sunk. But when you think about the sports card hobby, it is fun to actually engage in it, open the packs, see your favorite players, see the artwork. I've put significant money into these cards, but it's not really sunk. I'm going to get that capital back if I ever choose to sell it. And I think when done correctly, it is probably the most economically viable hobby in the world.
Bonkers. What a great name. Perfect for cards and fun and media. Oh, you never do that because it's like bonkers, thinking you aren't up. But it's it puts me in that whole, I don't know, nostalgic mindset.
I'm so thankful for my name. I'm actually the second. It's a family name. When I started, actually marketing myself, I've always put Bonker in the name. My financial newsletter was the Bonker Beat, and it was really supposed to be like I was a beat writer talking about what was happening. With Bonkers cards, you do have that. Just it's easy to remember. It's thankfully it is my name as well, and I'm always really specific about the way that I market myself. I want people to know who Gordy Bonker is.
The hobby and media, to me, and what you're doing with your content and leaning into it, there's just this, I don't know, relentless demand for more content, pack openings, shows, trades, all that stuff. Talk to me about the media aspect for you.
Yeah. When I think about 2026, in my personal business, I want to double down on the media side of the hobby as a business. I think advertisers don't fully yet understand like how passionate collectors are, and also the number of new collectors that are coming into the market. We have a pretty good understanding of who's watching the content, oftentimes in terms of like demographics, right? Highly skews male, highly skews some level of discretionary income spend. I'm waiting for that moment when we actually see a shift from the brands that want to sponsor this content only being hobby related to brands to, just larger blue chip names that, whether it be in the consumer product goods space or wherever, that just like want a piece of this action. And I think it's coming. It's just a matter of when. My primary platform when I started was TikTok. That's my biggest current audience. Probably got 22 and change thousand followers there.
Yep.
And I was dedicating so much time to short form video on TikTok that I really stopped posting on LinkedIn. And one of the things that I really want to try to recalibrate and focus on in 26 is sharing some of these contents more consistently on LinkedIn. I mean, it's no one's fault but my own. Like, I know what the value of that audience is, and I benefited from it for years when I was talking about the market.
As your marketing advisor, unpaid, and you didn't ask for it, get the hell back over there now, Gordy, because that is your audience. Here's the secret. It's not a secret. The hobby is media. Media is the hobby. It's in commerce, it's like commerce is media. Media is commerce. It all feeds one another. When
I left my job a few years ago, that was what I made my bet on, that I was going to make a living for my wife and I on, was live selling. And I recognized the same thing that you were talking about early on, that this is not only the action of me selling cards directly, but it is entertainment for the viewer. Like, they are choosing to watch Bonkers Cards live on Sunday night at 8 o'clock on TikTok versus watching a rerun of something on TV or whatever. For almost 2 years, I was doing it every Sunday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night, 2 hours a night. And I did that for a while, and I just sold a sponsorship deal for my live show, so that at the start of the show, in the middle of the show, at the end of the show, I'm reading an advertisement for a hobby company. That piece of attention is so valuable because those, my live show will carry somewhere. On last Sunday, I had about 250 concurrent viewers watching. Throughout the course of the night, you get close to 5,000 people that will stop in the show. If you look at what the base of sellers are doing on those platforms, it is a still shot of a pair of hands or a Zion case of cards sitting there, and it is incredibly boring. Yep. And one of the things that my show is different on is that I'm constantly voicing over tidbits about the sports card market, the history of the players. There's constant turnover in the cards. I talk about the live selling platform for me similar to a radio show. This needs to be a radio show. No dead air. Keep the audience entertained. Everybody's favorite radio station is WIIFM. What's in it for me, baby? Yeah. And you got to remember that. It's not about what's in it for you, the creator. It's what's in it for them. And they're there to be both. Yeah, they want to buy some cards at a good deal, but they want to be entertained. Yes. They want, we live in the TikTok nation. So, and educated. I think you need to be entertaining, educating, or inspiring. I forget. Edutainment. We've mentioned it. We'll have it in the show notes, but drop all the deets for how people can work with you, see what you're selling, learn from you, etc. Yeah. So, if anyone's interested in, the brokering side of the business or getting into specific cards, I always read my email at bonkerscards@gmail.com. My social media handles everywhere on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, everything is at Bonkers Cards. It's the same handle every platform. And then the thing that I'm like the most excited about is my newsletter. I'm doubling down on my writing. I've always loved to write, and it's the base of my membership. So the Bonkers Cards Club is my paid community. It's $8.99 a month. It gives you bonus access to my writing, thoughts, observations about the sports card market. It also gets you a part of the club. So I have all club members get invited to a monthly Zoom call I host, and I talk about what's happening in the market. I've brought guests on from across the industry to speak to the club. Our final club meeting, I don't know when this is airing, but it's Monday, December 22nd, if people are around and want to join the Bonkers Cards Club. And you can check all that content out by going to bonkerscards.substack.com. And yeah, man, I'm on Instagram. I'm starting to get more of a focus on Instagram. I started on TikTok. So if you're searching me, my TikTok audience is more robust than Instagram, weirdly, which isn't usually the case. But I'm excited to continue to build and grow that there. And yeah, you can listen to the Gordy Bonkers show every Wednesday on the Sports Cards Nonsense YouTube channel. That's my long form YouTube podcast. That's wherever you get podcasts as well. So check them out. And I think that's everything, man.
Okay. What's the one card or two or handfuls under 100 that you would tell our audience to buy or think about?
Under 100.
Under 100, and then maybe from 100 to 1,000. Like one or two, from 100 and under for maybe that value crowd or someone that that's newer, that's not dropping hundreds on everything, and then maybe a couple cards that are in that 100 to 1,000. I know that's a big range, but 100 to 1,000. So you can start with either one first.
If it was purely like on the investment side of things, in terms of like a store of value. Yeah, I would try to identify the earliest playing year Mickey Mantle card that you can get. His 60s cards, you'll definitely be able to afford in that $100 to $1,000 price point. Can't get in anything into Mantle under $100. Yep. I personally love Jackie Robinson stuff as well, and you can get into Jackie Robinson stuff. Probably the cheapest Jackie cards are his 1955, 56 cards. You could probably get low grade copies of those for $200 to $300. And Jackie Robinson, Mickey Mantle, those guys are never going to lose value. When you're playing in vintage cards specifically under $100, it's a hard category to me because you wouldn't be getting 50s or 60s cards that are of like quality in that. I think
then any sleepers in the 70s, 80s, or 90s.
Yeah, so
yeah,
that's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
I think you have to think about what the lowest population counts are of culturally or historically significant players from the 1970s. So those, even if you were to creep into the 80s, it gets really touchy with the junk wax era. Honestly, where I was going to go though was a figure from that time period. I would say if you're looking into the 80s, 90s, Ken Griffey Jr. is going to become the next Mickey Mantle. He was the guy.
I love it. I didn't even have to lead the witness, and he was going there anyway. I got my Ernie Banks laying here too. I mean, I got,
there we go.
like
that's a nice one.
Yeah.
So
and
that's a 67.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this guy.
Yes. Look at that. I think we got matching ones. I got the same one right now.
What's yours? Mine's a 5, PSA 5.
This is an SGC 5.
Hey, there we go.
I just sold this. This is out the door today to somebody for $250. So that's a cool card because it has Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, and Harmon Killebrew, 3 of the best players, home run hitters of their time.
I bought that for 60, 55, like, I don't know, like a year ago.
That's an amazing deal, man. So, yeah, it's a great example of the appreciation side.
I know. Dude, I can do this all day with you. Really appreciate you for coming on. Can't wait to do it again. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
Collectibles.show is where you'll find all of the channels and learn more about what we're doing. And ultimately, hey, we want to hear from you. You do case hits at collectibles.show. We want you to send in your favorite pulls of the week. And here's the difference. This isn't about just value. Hey, we want to see some $10,000 hits. Had a couple of those myself a few months back. But it's not just about the value, it's about what you're collecting. What means something to you? Share a story, share a video of you holding up the card that you hit last week that was your favorite player and you nailed it. So case hits at collectibles.show. Send in those videos. I want to know the stories. We're going to bring them to life here on the show. We're going to do a segment each week once we get rolling and get some videos in where we share that on the show with us. We want to feature you on Collectibles Show.
Thanks for tuning in to the show. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform, and don't miss the full video version on YouTube. You can find us at www.collectibles.show or follow Ryan on Instagram at Ryan Alford. Now get out there and collect yours.